Welcome into another edition of Race Car Boy versus Turgeon, the only source for Laker sports and a side of screaming. It's Laker Connections right here on WTOP 10. I'm Thomas Turgeon.
And I'm the Race Car Boy himself, J-Dub, J-Wake, Wakefield, and a lot of other things. But most importantly, I am sometimes Jared Wakefield.
Well, Jared, we are not here to try and make the best food in the world and has ever seen, or maybe invent time travel, because the canoe didn't work last week. So why don't you start us off with this past week in Laker sports?
Sure, Thomas, but honestly, to be frank, the canoe is more of a fancy bench on the seafloor this week. Men's soccer went on the longest road trip of the week as they faced off against the Oneonta Red Dragons. However, the postseason magic from last year's playoff victory over the Dragons did not carry into 2022. Oswego suffered a 2-1 loss to Oneonta. Oswego's only score of the game came from who else but Kieran Gilroy. Gilroy gets it done just a minute after Oneonta scores their first, but it wasn't enough to quell the fire of the Red Dragons offense, Thomas. Oswego now stands on the edge of elimination for the SUNYAC playoffs after that loss.
And a huge loss for Oswego State, not a loss they can afford. But let's be real here. Matt Darpino, who was a goaltender that was in goal to start at the beginning of the year, I can't remember the first name. Borgioli came in a little
Andre
bit.
Borgioli.
Andre Borgioli. I thought it was Andrew, but Andre Borgioli.
Close.
Came in for a little bit, and then Darpino ended up taking the net after the Plattsburgh game. So regardless, Oneonta, we expected a tough matchup to begin with. They were undefeated at home this year. For the men's soccer team, and they were a really good program to start off this year, too.
Yeah, they were really good to start off this year, as you mentioned. Borgioli, we've seen him in the last couple games, but Darpino, he seemed like he was going to be the starter all year, took some time off. He's been in these last two games. He was in against Buff State, and as you can see, the stats have shown 7-12 save percentage. That's the big one. That's pretty solid, 36 saves. Darpino doing all right in net so far. He had 7 saves on the day against Oneonta, but Oneonta put the shots up. They outshot Oswego 20-4, and Oneonta prevailed despite 2 yellow cards on the Red Dragons.
I think one of the things that was definitely an Achilles heel for the Lakers this season was most definitely the fact how many shots they got on goal, let alone shots in general. I mean, you talk about this. Shots on goal, 9-3 in favor of Oneonta, and then shots in general were 20-4 in favor of Oneonta. So you're getting only 4 shots on the day. 3 of them are on goal, so that's a struggle for Oswego State.
Yeah, and on top of that, you know, Oswego is 9th in the SUNYAC. They are 9th in total shots, so Oswego just really struggling to get shots on net. Hasn't happened, hasn't helped them, and now last year they were the playoff Cinderella. This year, they might not even get that chance.
It's definitely going to be a big, impressive turn for the Lakers against New Paltz. But from the men's to the women's, where Brian McGrain and the women's soccer team went to battle with matchups against the Dragons of Oneonta, shocker, followed by the Fredonia Blue Devils. Oswego would be upset by the Dragons at home before getting a crucial 3 points in Fredonia. Jared, the Lakers are playing with fire when it comes down to these final SUNYAC matchups. Yes, I know, it's very cliche.
Thank you very much, Turge. Definitely cliche, but look, it's a tale of 2 games here. Let's start off with that Oneonta game. Gianna Gritzmacher with a game winner for Oneonta, 5 minutes left in regulation, ripping the heart right out of the ship for the Lakers. 0 shots on goal for Oswego, 2 shots for Oneonta. Very tightly contested matchup. Again, as we said, that's a heartbreaker. That's one you can't lose. Obviously, senior day festivities held here at Laker Turf Stadium, and that's not the way you want your senior day to go.
Not to mention, you look at this team, I mean, Oswego, they've been a very well performed soccer program this year. Oneonta, they're 3-3 on the road, which clearly it showed because they got the dub at the end of the day, but they're 0-6-1 at home. So I'm not good at math, but that's basically 3-9-1 total in your overall record. But when Oswego needs to win against teams like this.
Yeah, and that's rather baffling for them to have that record. You think home turf is the advantage. The men's team almost the opposite. You know, that Oneonta team, they've struggled a bit on the road, but they've been really good at home. Moving into that Fredonia game, that was also a tight game. Talia DeFay scored first at 9:13 for the Blue Devils, but Brianna Winkler and Louisiana Cerro fired right back to bury 2 shots, take the lead. Oswego, good way to take that game back.
Yeah, it's definitely.
But moving on now to another senior day. It was senior day for the Oswego State field hockey team this past week as the Lakers looked to leap over the Brockport Golden Eagles. However, an early goal from Brockport in the first period opened and ended the scoring as Brockport bowled over the Lakers by a final score of 1-goose egg. Oswego only managed 5 shots in the entire contest. Thomas, this was a game the Lakers needed to win. And now it's almost impossible for the Lakers to make the playoffs. But I am saying there's a chance.
There's a chance, but it's a very difficult chance. So you're saying there's a chance, But one of the players that's been crucial to even keeping Oswego in the faith, really, was Erica Shabline. I mean, you talk about how crucial she has been so far this season. Brockport only getting that one goal, 11:50 in. But I feel like it's a broken record for the fall athletic teams. They're getting outshot again. 11-5 shots on goal, 16-10 in shots in general. Corners were equal. We kind of expected a tight matchup. I mean, last year they played, and it was a shootout win for Oswego down in Brockport, a huge 3 points there. But, I mean, this is a game where you had to win if you wanted to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and Shabline, I mean, she had a really good day overall. She had those 9 saves on those 10 shots. 9 to 8 penalty corners for Brockport. We've seen Oswego really struggle to convert those penalty corners. But both teams had opportunities. Brockport just gets a little bit of the ball luck, so to speak, and is able to put the ball into the back of the net. Oswego hit post in the third period from Taylor Bauer, and that was pretty much as close as they got. Brockport, a phenomenal day defensively. This is a game the Lakers want back. And for them to even have a shot at making the playoffs, they got to beat conference-leading Geneseo. That's going to be a tough challenge. And then Morrisville, who hasn't beaten anybody this year in the SUNYAC.
They haven't beaten anyone, but they're going to need a lot of help regardless when it comes to this team. But needless to say, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the week ahead right here on WTOP 10.
Now it is time for Black Card
Card
Revoke.
Revoke.
Like, what's this apology about now?
At least that's what I feel like. I don't know. I thought it was cute, you know?
I thought it was too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what about this Black Lace Ensemble? You did a little song.
Yeah, I see it.
You did a little something. Yes.
I'm gonna figure it out though. But it won't
Breathe to the flag.
Yeah.
And I'm Donna. And this is the Sunset Show. Grab your low-rise jeans because we're taking it back to the 2000s. Let's go, girls. Uggs and low-rise jeans.
Together.
One of the boys. Boy.
Sorry, it's my agent. He told me that you're canceled.
Shebangy.
Welcome back to the Kind of Lake Show, where we talk about anything and everything going on in our lives and yours.
Well, my birthday was November 13th, so it's been quite some time.
I think at the end we saw him get up.
I get that. I can't.
It's a winner, and I did bring a sweater for everyone.
There you go! I know your dreams.
You started the paper throwing, just the immaturity. You lost before you even argued.
Pretty insane that the Clippers, 10 of the last 11 postseasons, they're in there.
Welcome back to the only WTOP 10 show. We're screaming is the main attraction. This is Laker Connection on WTOP 10. I'm Jared. He's unfortunately Thomas.
Wow. Okay. Oh, my goodness. That was
Well,
ruthless.
Thomas, I got to say, we're now fishing our canoe off the lake bottom and paddling into the week ahead. Bubba, what's in store for the Lakers on our journey?
Well, at first, I think we're going to start off with some volleyball. So we'll move to Max Zeal, where the Toby runs effect, which we're going to trademark now, needs to finish strong in his first year at the Oswego State volleyball program. The Lakers have currently slowed down a little and hold the sixth and final spot in the SUNYAC playoff standings. However, Oswego faces a tough pair of tests with the New Paltz Hawks and the Oneonta Red Dragons. Jared, much like the women's soccer team, they are also playing with fire.
Yeah.
And just beating a dead
Yeah,
horse
you
right now.
you are beating that dragon to death right there, Thomas. But let me tell you, they certainly are playing with fire. The good news for the Lakers, they're practically in. There is very little chance that they are going to miss the playoffs, and this is huge. I mean, looking back to how this team performed last year, as you can see in the video, they look more like a composed team this year in the video, more composed last year. If you had told me this team was going to make the playoffs next year, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. But this year, the coaching changed. It seems like the culture's changed a little bit. Girls are working together a lot more cohesive on the court. and it's showing. New Paltz is going to be their challenge. They're 6-1, 17-2 overall on the season, including out of conference wins. Oneonta is 2-5, on the verge of being eliminated. So the Red Dragons, do or die for them if they can't muster up a little bit of fire, Thomas. Their flame's going out.
Their flame is definitely going out, but you forgot to mention they're on a 9-game winning streak going into Friday. They're undefeated on their home court. That's the thing that really baffles me. And Oswego, they struggled against New Paltz, a 13-game losing streak, and they have not won since 2002. They come off a victory against SUNY Poly where they really dominated. I mean, Poly hasn't won a game, or a set rather, for that matter, in over a year. So wow. It was a team where Oswego really need to get back off to the right foot on this.
Yeah, and I mean, with this volleyball team as well, one of the things that's interesting to know is that they're pretty good in the SUNYAC standings. One thing that they're high in that they don't want to be high in is attack errors, those mistakes. Oswego was 4th in attack errors in the SUNYAC, and Oneonta, they're 3rd. So that's going to be an opportunity for Oswego to capitalize. They can just have a clean game. They should beat the Red Dragons. But moving over to Laker turf, it all comes down to this for the Oswego State women's soccer team. The Lakers head southeast to New Paltz for a Saturday matinee against the Hawks. The Hawks are already locked into the playoffs. However, the Lakers are not locked in just yet. For Oswego, it's win and you're in. If they lose, they need to dodge wins by both the Brockport Golden Flyers and the Potsdam Bears. With Potsdam facing a locked-in Geneseo team and Brockport facing a Cortland team that is already locked in to the #1 seed, Thomas, it seems likely that the Lakers will lock into the postseason barring disaster.
It really would have to be an atrocious disaster. I mean, we look at the standings here. Oswego is in a good spot, but not a great spot. If they win, it will most likely determine whether or not they have a home game or a playoff game. The 1 and 2 seed do get first round bye, 3 plays 6, and then 4 plays 5. So a huge game against the Hawks in New Paltz. The last 3 games, though, they went into OT, and their last one wasn't since 2017. And New Paltz currently 10-3-1 so far this year. So a really good program down in the southeast of New York State. A really tough test to wrap up the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, this is just such a huge test for the Lakers. This is kind of, almost your playoff litmus test. This is a good chance to get your feet wet, see what your playoff soccer is going to be like, see what that result is. Ultimately, if either Potsdam or Brockport lose, this game does not matter. Brockport with 10 points as well, along with Potsdam. So it really would take a lot. If the Lakers lose, one of them wins, the Lakers are in because they hold that 5 spot right now. If Potsdam and Brockport win and the Lakers lose, it's up. Even if Oswego ties or does anything but lose and 2 wins, they're in good shape. So they can go into this New Paltz game, try some things, and know as long as they're semi-competitive, they're going to be in a good spot going into the playoffs. But then they got to turn up the wick.
Definitely need to turn up the wick in the chemistry, though. I love the litmus test. I don't think I've heard that in probably a solid maybe 10 years for that matter. I mean, you talk about this team, they really need to get it done. But needless to say, going to Laker turf where the men's soccer team is currently holding the final spot in the SUNYAC playoff race. They're all trying to really knock on the door there. However, currently in a 3-way tie for the 5th place seed, the Lakers are in a must-win scenario this weekend against the New Paltz Hawks, who have already solidified their spot in the tournament. Jared, we know that this is a different time and a different team come playoff time, so where are they going to need to make the playoffs?
That's tough to say because right now Oswego, to put it simply, they're in a 3-way tie coming into this one between Fredonia and the rival Plattsburgh Cardinals. New Paltz coming into this one, they're 5-2-1 in conference this year. Oswego 4th in goals for at 1.71 this year. New Paltz 7th at 1.40. Looking at these overall records here, Oswego leading the way in the all-time records, 20-18-3. In the last 10, it's 4-5-1 for the Lakers. Home for the Lakers, 14-9. So the Lakers pretty good on home turf against this Hawks team. And New Paltz, this is not a team that's going to shoot a lot. This is not a team that's going to score a lot. They are very good defensively. They prevent a lot of shots. They don't take a lot of shots. It's going to be a game that's going to be won and lost in transition through the midfield this weekend.
But the one thing that you forgot to mention, they haven't had a SUNYAC win at home this year. And I think that's crucial. And the other thing that catches my eye, notice how you mentioned Fredonia's tied with Oswego, and then Geneseo only has 1 point ahead of them. 2 games right here at Laker Turf that both resulted in a tie. So if you take either of those games and at least get a win, there's 2 more points to boost onto your resume to get you to 10 to jump over figuratively 2 of those teams. I mean, you have the tiebreaker with Fredonia, but at the end of the day, you need to get those wins at home.
Yeah, I mean, those wins at home are so important, and ultimately, they might keep the Lakers out of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're most likely going to have to be a crucial team. But We'll be right back. When we come back, we'll be talking right to the depth for the Wheelhouse Wire. You're watching Laker Connections on WTOP 10.
This job looks perfect. It says you need a high school diploma. You've got one of those, right?
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
I got that.
Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Major Discussions is the new show that explores the stories of students right here on campus. I personally came here to SUNY Oswego for the broadcasting program because I love to hear people's stories and to do work just like this.
Welcome back to Laker Connections right here on WTOP 10. And Jared, we finally had hockey back in the Deb this past weekend. So take me back on Saturday and start with some men's. Why don't you?
What a beautiful Saturday it was to get back in the Deb against Stevenson. Men's hockey opened their preseason with a lot of firsts. Their first ever matchup against the Stevenson Mustangs and their first win of the 2022-2023 season by a final score of 3-1. Liam McCanny was the lone goal scorer for the Mustangs. The Lakers were led by Tyler Flack and Quinn Warmuth on the goal scoring front. Flack put up 2 goals, including an empty netter, while Warmuth picked 2 apples and put them in the basket. Thomas, there's a lot of storylines to take away from this Saturday matchup.
Most definitely. I think Coach Gosick was talking about it this past week. I talked with him a couple days ago. He said a lot of positives. I mean, it was a competitive team. Stevenson had the exact same record. We expected a close matchup going into this weekend against the Mustangs. And it was really a close contest throughout the end. I mean, all 3 goaltenders played, all lines played. So that's what we expected out of Coach Gosick's team. And I personally thought a really much more faster team on the ice compared to last year.
Absolutely, and it was a pretty wild game too, as you saw there. We had 2 penalty shots, 1 for each team. Last year, we had a penalty shot against Morrisville on us, and that felt pretty crazy. So to see 2 of those in one game was pretty outrageous. And again, as you said, it was a team effort. Everybody out there, and really, I don't think anybody struggled. Nobody looked really too gassed. You know, there are obviously standouts and a few people that needed to learn a little bit. You saw at the end of the video, there's one Stevenson player actually broke their stick on the net after that empty netter, so some frustration. But it was a really competitive game. This Stevenson team, they've received votes. They play in the UCHD, a very top-heavy conference with teams like Wilkes, Utica. Those are some really tough teams. Ryan Kennedy, their goaltender that won the UCHD Goaltender of the Year award. He didn't play, but the 2 goaltenders that did play, Matt Lane and Marco Sturma, phenomenal games for them.
Yep, most definitely.
So this weekend marks the final week of preseason play for the Oswego State Lakers. The Lakers will bring in with the Carleton Place Canadians, a Junior A hockey team from the Central Canadian Hockey League. This program has produced multiple Laker players in the past, as well as NHL prospects like Northeast University's Devin Levi. However, only 2 players on this team played against Carleton the last time the Canadians crossed the border south, and the Lakers won that contest by a final score of 9-1. Bubba, can Carleton Place bring a challenge this Saturday?
I think they're going to bring a great challenge, but they need to be really, really speedy, and they need to be able to provide goal scoring. And I think one of the things we noticed from the goal scorers in this game, I mean, you think about it, you look at that list, none of them are currently on the team. You mentioned 2 players left. that's going to be a big test for Oswego State.
Absolutely, and if you look on here, you have some pro players on here as well. Tyson Kirkby went on and played in the SPHL. Now he's playing in Binghamton in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. Carter Allen, he's up on the South Carolina Stingrays. That's an ECHL team, so a lot of good players on this team. But again, the only two players that played in this game, Ryan Bunka, Alex DeCarlo, they're the only two left.
They're the only two left, and they're definitely a leadership group for this team. That is why they are the captains for this team. Well, the women's were also in action this weekend in exhibition play against the London Junior Develettes. The Lakers would go up 5-4 before going into the third period before falling 9-5 in the third. Jared, a game in which the big word of the day, conditioning.
Oh, yeah, because those first 40 minutes, some really good hockey there. The Lakers looked pretty good against London. They were skating pretty well. 5-4 at the end of 40 at the last one. And they need Will Smith from Men in Black to come in with the memory zapper thing and just clear that out of their heads because it was a disaster. Nothing went right, and you could tell that London, this is a team, they're younger, but they've already played 23 games. They've got players on the team, Canada teams, and you could tell they looked like they were up for the 60-minute challenge.
Yeah, they were definitely up for the 60-minute challenge, but they were also playing many games prior. I think they played somewhere along the lines of like 18 games going into today. Oswego only had 1 week courtesy of practices. I mean, Ariel Haas with the hat trick, Simone Bednarik with a goal, Zoe Lease getting her first as a Laker. So a lot of positive takeaways from this team, and then they got a big challenge going up this weekend. So we'll move from the past to the present, where the challenge does not stop there, where the number 7 Nazareth Golden Flyers come to the Deb for the women's hockey team's second and final exhibition matchup of the year. Jared and Mark Digby definitely went to work coming up with this schedule.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge schedule, and we talked about, the regular seasons to highlight. You got teams like Amherst, Adrian, Utica, et cetera, coming to town. Obviously, Cortland and Plattsburgh, too, and Newell play. But this Nazareth team, they're going to be good, and we haven't seen this Nazareth team in a while. You've got players like Lauren
freshman
Jones.
Year.
That came in. Yeah, your freshman year. I wasn't even here yet. I was still in high school. So it's been a while, but what a better program for the Lakers to play.
Definitely a dominant team. I mean, you talk about Nazareth. They're ranked number 7 for a reason. They were 20-0 in the conference last year. Undefeated in the conference, 27-2 all year, and their only 2 losses were to the same team in the Elmira Soaring Eagles. Elmira Soaring Eagles. I finally got that.
Too many bird names.
Too many birds, but either way, Elmira going to the Frozen Four, losing in the Frozen Four to the champs only by national champion Middlebury, only by 1 goal in the semifinal. So definitely a team that is going to be a challenge. But that's going to do it for the Wheelhouse Wire. When we come back, our very own Mr. T sits down with us to moderate this chaos. It's Laker Show on next on WTOP 10.
The central and midwestern U.S. averages more than 850 tornadoes each year, and lately, the number of floods has been rising in the region too. So chances are, there will be more twisters and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are, you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hey, how are ya? It's time for some Lakers Showdown, and we're getting right into it today. If you've been living under a rock and don't know what's going on here in Laker Connections, these two men will scream out why their answer to my question is better than the other. Are you guys ready?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's rip.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to me.
All right. The Oswego men's hockey team picked up a 3-1 exhibition win last Saturday against Stevenson University. Coach Gosek gave a lot of opportunities to everyone on the team for the first game of the year and had all 3 goalies play in this one. With a solid team win, who impressed you guys the most on the ice this time? I'm starting out with Race Car Boy since he won last time. So, Wakefield, take it away.
Thank you very much, Tommy T. And let me tell you, I love my
Bravo.
players from the blue line, and I'm going to go with one right here. Quinn Warmup, what a game for him. I feel like this could have been a breakout performance. Last year, a little quiet offensively. It took some time to come up. Him and Tristan Francis were sort of the more true defenseman deep pair. Gosek gives him the bump up to the top pair, and they show it. 2 apples for number 8. He looked really good at the blue line, strong offensively, but not giving too much away defensively, staying close to the blue line and not pinching in.
Gonna cut you off right there. Turge, what you got?
I'm going to go with my previous director's favorite, Merrickson tonight, but Richie Perrant, he's the guy. He made 6 saves. I think he's fighting for a spot in this goaltending team. We saw he got the short end of the stick last year. He didn't have a good game against Elmira. That's not a pun at the fact that he's 5'11" compared to the 6'3s, but I think he played really well. He was confident. He was able to play his angles very well. He was finding the loose pucks, and I think really Richie Perrant was the MVP of this weekend.
Ooh, I mean, you guys had 2 great candidates, but I also got to
go with Richie.
Richie
Shell played better.
He played better, but
I mean, they all played good though. They all played good. Richie stepped up. All right, we also had a women's hockey game last Saturday against the London Devilettes. Going into the 3rd period, though, they had a 5-4 lead, but ended up losing 9-5 in this one. We saw this team have a lot of grit on the ice. With a hard-fought loss, with that being said, who will be your player to watch going into the game against number 7 Nazareth? Turge, take it away.
All right, I'm going to have to go with defense wins games, not as much goals, because we could clearly see that they scored 5 and they couldn't get the job done. So I'm going to go with defense. Amanda Zenstein, she's coming from a winning program in Elmira. Like I mentioned, last year they went to the Frozen Four. They lost to the national champ by 1. You stop that right now. She was with this team last year. I really think she needs to take that next step and fill into the role that really Fee Taggart was the captain last year, and she really needs to take that step and really gel that defensive core this year and help out the goaltending.
Wow, we really love our blue line today because I'm going with another defenseman. I'm going with Rhea Zemlak. No points on the board, but really strong defensively overall. Looked really good through the neutral zone, really good tape-to-tape passes all night long. Good at reading the play on transition, which was a big key in those first 2 periods.
Jack Burdick, is that
London to get on top. Shades of Shea Weber, a player that can stand up. True defenseman stand up. Pretty good shot. A few good offensive looks. I think she'll help fill those holes by Taggart and
Do you want me
Kennedy.
to make me cry? Okay, Shea Weber. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Turge, you had it until he mentioned Shea Weber. The comparison is just on point. Let me get a ding for Ray.
No dings.
We got 1 ding for Jared.
This is really ridiculous.
All right, we got one more. We got one more.
Ridiculous.
One to decide.
Oh my
Fall
gosh.
sports are winding down here in
happening?
Laker country. We have potentially 3 teams making the SUNYAC playoffs this year. After some standout performances across the 6 fall sports teams, who was the MVP for the fall sports this year?
I know I don't get to go first this time, so.
Well, I was going to let you go first.
Oh.
We made that comment.
All right, go first. No.
All right, let's head over to Max Seal Gymnasium. And as you know, there's only one fall sport that's in Max Seal Gymnasium. That's volleyball. Cara Simplicio. Volleyball has a really loaded roster. It's hard to pick from that team, but Simplicio is by far the most complete player on the court. 266.5 points, 220 kills this season. She leads the team, averaging 3 kills per set, 33 service aces, 4th in digs behind the 2 liberos and McKenna Corbin, the setter. 185 digs, 22 blocks. Her offensive and defensive skill has put this team into the playoffs this year.
All right, Turge, what do you got?
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, the field hockey team, they didn't make the playoffs this year, but I think Erica Sublime was definitely the MVP. I mean, she was the reason why they were in a majority of the games this year. It was really close contest, but think about it. She has 364 saves currently with 1 game left, or 2 games left actually, Morrisville and Geneseo. That's pretty much a save for every day of the year. So at the end of the day, in that college career, 365 saves for Erica Sublime. She's a fall sports MVP.
But can you be a most valuable player if your team doesn't make the playoffs?
Yes, because they. Yes, because she almost helped
Has
them.
Mike Trout helped the Angels make the playoffs? No, they haven't made the playoffs.
But wait a minute, he's been MVP before.
Exactly.
Making the playoffs.
But wait,
Exactly.
So with that said, it got it broke. But
You
Thomas
broke the
Turner
ground.
is champion
That's ridiculous.
Lakers showdown.
Let's go.
You just made a valid point for him.
That's ridiculous. No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I said the logic was flawed.
You saved my victory, but you know
You just gave him a victory royale.
No, I didn't.
Fortnite #1 victory royale. Yep, Fortnite, we're about to get down, but. From our producers, all of us, our substitute director tonight, Merrick Patowski in the back, and the rest of our crew tonight.
For that one.
This is the victor, also saying from everyone here at Laker Connections, have a good night.